the first thing we want to tell you about our project is we kind of ran into some bumps in the road along the way, so we actually haven't done our project yet. We got the wood to cut the squares as we're going to tell you about how our project's going to go, but we actually don't have pictures of what we're doing because we're going to take a video later of everything that we're doing once we have all our materials together, because we're planning to actually do another little presentation of it later. So before you wonder why we don't have any specific pictures in our presentation, that's why.
So basically we're just going to tell you what we're going to do and how we expect for it to turn out.
Which, fingers crossed. Okay, so our project is I Wish Someone Would Have Told Me. And it's by us. Okay, so I wish someone would have told me at the beginning that high school is wrong.
Kylie and I have been through every year together. We pretty much have the same classes every year, and so we put a picture at the beginning to tell you guys this particular story, because we took this picture and whenever we go back through our Facebook pictures and looking through our open house stuff, we always remember this particular moment. And we were in eco-science class and we
Freshman year.
I don't know if you guys remember, but we had to create that wooden tower. And Kylie and I always find a way to make things harder than they need to be. And so there we were, just little freshmen stressing out, and thought that was just the biggest thing in the world. And we thought if we didn't complete that and didn't get an A, then the world was going to end, honestly. We were in there for hours after class. We worked every minute in class that he gave us, and then we were still there after. And yeah, ended up working out, but it
I don't know if
also
you guys
was really bad.
know Chelsea, Kayla Randall and Lauren Booth, but they don't exactly all the time match Ashley and I's intense desire to spend tons of time on their projects, and they ended up beating us on this project of how much weight it could hold. So that just goes to show that sometimes it doesn't always work out. So from that point on, Ashley and I were pretty sure that high school was going to be full of trial and errors, which it was. So,
But what we want to tell people is that it's all going to work out, because obviously today both of us are moving on and we found the success that we wanted and worked for. And even though we had those moments and we stressed ourselves out, it will all work out in the big picture of things. And so we wanted to be able to tell people that.
Exactly. So after we kind of thought about how we've made a transition, we then started to think about, okay, what in high school made us successful? What made us who we ended up being today from where we were freshman year? What didn't make us successful? And last of all, what do we wish that someone would have told us at the beginning to make our high school years much easier than they actually were? So what we found in our project was that actually a lot of high school students feel this way. These are just some examples of students who actually have said, we wish we would have known this in high school. This student said, high school students should definitely take their classes more seriously. I wish I would have. I took stupid classes just to get credit.
I think you can all attest to that. I'm sure there's one thing that you wish that you would have done differently, or that someone would have warned you about. And so we just put a couple examples of what some advice other people outside of the school might have given, because like we said, obviously we haven't had a chance to get advice straight from our school.
So after looking at different students that really wish that they had this advice, and of course we wish that we had, we decided to make our senior project focus on giving advice to students. So then we started looking at our big questions.
Our first big question was, what is the best way to spread wisdom and advice in order to benefit the largest audience? Because originally, we had kind of thought that we would just do the two of us, do a presentation to a group of parents or students, like incoming freshmen, but then we realized that there's more than just us that want to give advice.
And our second big question was, how do we help prepare students for success in high school and beyond? So our project evolution, as Ashley just said, we originally thought that we wanted to go the route of presenting this presentation that basically we were going to sit down with in maybe the auditorium or something with a bunch of parents that we invited in, probably more from like 8th grade and like the younger freshman, sophomore parents, because a lot of the advice we were giving would probably be needed early out in your high school career. But like she said, we decided against this for 3 major reasons. The first one was that it wouldn't fulfill our desire to reach the largest audience possible, which was one of our big questions and our main goals. And the second one was?
It would only include our advice limiting the potential effects. And each of us go through, like all of us have different things that we go through. We're not involved in certain things that other people are involved in, so we wouldn't necessarily have the best advice for that person that's getting ready to go that path. So.
And our last one was that, honestly, throughout our entire high school career, Ashley and I always normally choose the hardest way to do stuff, which at the end of the day, whether or not it turns out the best or the worst, we don't exactly always have the most fun doing it because it's just becomes so stressful doing the actual project because we made it so huge that it really wouldn't be fun in the end and we wouldn't get as much out of it as we would have. So when we talked about our presentation, we actually agreed that this wouldn't be as fun as we really wanted to make this project, especially since it was like the culmination of all our high school projects together. So that idea was out. But then we really found out that inspiration is everywhere. And I actually was visiting Michigan a few weeks before we really had started our senior projects, and I walked in to their student center, and there was this big display of all these like little squares hung on this big wall, and it had all these different little sayings written on them overall about suicide prevention. And I just remember seeing this really impactful piece of art on the wall that was created by students, giving inspiration to other students on the idea of suicide. So I really liked that idea, and I started to think maybe we can incorporate this type of thing into our senior project.
So our second idea was that we were going to recreate this wall but tailor it towards what we wanted to do, and that was give advice back to the students at our school. And so we were going to create, it was like a large bulletin board, and they had like cork, and then they hung the wooden squares after people wrote their like advice and encouragement. And so we decided to add a twist that around the cork we were going to cover them with blue and gold fabric to make it school spirited, and it was just going to be a really cool display in the school hallway. But concerns coming from some of the staff said that the cork might be flammable, and so it couldn't necessarily stay there, and so we had to change our project just with the time and some of the different hoops that we were going to have to jump through. So
here's just an example of the wall. But basically, in going through these different stages of our project, we also learned that I wish someone had told me that you can't please everyone. And honestly, when you're trying to fit something that's going to be visible to the entire school, you're going to have people that won't always support your ideas for whatever reason, and will make it difficult for you to do things that you really think are a good idea. So that was something that we really realized when we were putting this together.
And we just kind of learned that you just have to be flexible with it, and we're still happy with like our project, and we think it will make a pretty big impact.
So then basically our the next idea that we had really was just focused on writing the actual advice rather than displaying it. So the next thing we decided was that we were going to create this video of basically the students probably one day at lunch, or we were even thinking about handing these squares out to English classes since they're pretty, writing is integrated into their classroom, of the students just writing this advice on the squares, and then maybe them holding it up, take a few students and just tape them reading their advice and saying how advice that they've gotten from other people have really impacted them. And then we decided that we were going to pass out all the squares to the incoming freshmen during 8th grade orientation, giving the presentation of the video, and that was going to be our major presentation of how we were going to impact students.
we said, this was going to allow all students to share their advice and not just us. And we decided that we wanted to personally be there for just the end of the project, and so we were going to go and hand out a square to each of the incoming freshmen, hoping that not only would this make them somewhat feel welcome and like everyone was there willing to help, but that they would be excited and actually learn from the advice that people gave. And our video, we were thinking actually that it'd be similar to how you guys did your garden video, and just like a impactful video that made you want to cry, like it almost made me.
So really we started to realize that through our project that we could make an impact, that other students could make an impact, and that really this project could turn out to something really cool that really could make a difference in people's high school success. So we started looking at these different aspects of it. We thought that it would make students' lives easier and more successful by sharing advice that we wish that we would have had. And I think that really goes along with saying, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. If we've already been through something like this stupid stick project, just like tell freshmen, I'm sorry, but the stupid stick project isn't the end all and be all of your life. And no matter what, whether your tower lasts for 5 minutes or gets crushed in 2 seconds, like, it's not going to really affect you even your senior year. That your college application isn't going to ask you how long your stick project lasted.
The second thing was that we feel like this is going to ignite the spark of good relations and just foster relations, not only peer-to-peer, but we figure that teachers can even write their advice. Like, they've been through stuff that seniors haven't. Everybody's been through something that somebody's going to go through after them. And we wanted to just give people the means to write those things and share, and then hopefully create those good relations.
And we really wanted to provide people with an avenue to share this idea, because I think that a lot of times, Ashley and I are pretty outspoken, but we know people that probably have great advice in this classroom who necessarily wouldn't walk up to a freshman and go, hey, by the way, don't worry about your stick project. So we really wanted to give people a way to share this advice without making them feel like they had to give a presentation like we were. And we really realized that this project could change lives, like we said.
This was, so for example, like she said, we are very outspoken, so 2 people that I feel like we've impacted already are my brother and her sister.
That's
and
good.
they're already kind of like following in some of our footsteps, and they're taking their own paths, but being able to give that advice that we have back to them, and realizing, like, not how much easier, because they're still going to go through those trials and errors depending on choices they make, but certain things that we stress out about, they might not have to. And so knowing how much it already impacted them, we're hoping that we can do that for other people as well, besides just family.
And so basically overall, I'm sure we both wish that someone would have told us that everything, every success that you have, every failure, every hard practice you go through, or best friend that you have, or late night study session, or early morning meeting when you have to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, or volunteer hour, or broken heart, or AP class, or prom picture, or college application, or denial or acceptance, is all part of the big picture. And that big picture is your future. Maybe take any questions.
So, what's the plan? When do you think you're going to be able to put this stuff together with your video? Are you doing the video then?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've talked to the woodshop teacher, and actually, it's just kind of a stressful time of year. He's trying to get all his projects done and stuff, so I actually have been in contact with him every day, and he's currently getting the wood pieces cut. So basically, we're not really stressing out necessarily about getting all these squares taken care of, right? I mean, obviously we have a sense of urgency, but we are actually just, our main goal is to have all this completed for the 8th grade exchange. So I think that we're going to be hopefully getting them done, the squares cut by tomorrow, and then setting up a time at lunch or going into classrooms and getting the squares written, and if need be, next week everybody's still in school. We definitely wouldn't mind coming in and just doing it a few different times, because we got enough for like 500 squares, because we just want obviously enough for the freshman class.
We'd like to, before the seniors leave, kind of initiate that and have them write their advice. And then, like she said, if we have to come in a couple more times, then all of those people are going to be here next week. And so we thought about either doing them in the English classes or at lunch for a day.
I just think the video will be really impactful. I think it'll be helpful, so it'll be nice to see that kind of come together too.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.